What's cracking, guys? Omar Isaf here. In this video today, I got a special guest. I got my boy Eric Helms returning, talking about nutrition. He's going to talk about meal frequency. I understand there's been a lot of hoopla about intermittent fasting. What he's going to do is kind of give a very in-depth overview of meal frequency, what the research shows in regards to nutrition, and what is in fact optimal. Oftentimes we'll kind of glaze over some of these topics, just giving a general recommendation, but it's important also to know why we make these recommendations. So Eric is one of the smartest minds in the game. He's going to lay down the knowledge. If you like this style of video, make sure to like the damn video and also post below what you want to see Eric talk about next. Without further ado, I'll let him take it away.
Hey everyone, happy to be back on Omar's channel. It's Eric Helms from 3dmusclejourney.com, here to talk once again to you about practical application of the evidence-based fitness phenomenon. Alright, so today we're going to be talking about meal frequency. Obviously not something that's new information, but there has been a resurgence as of late with this topic. There's been some popular YouTubers who have talked a lot about meal frequency as a key to success. And we've also seen some recent studies come out on intermittent fasting. Not really recent studies, but just one. And in general, there seems to be a buzz once again talking about meal frequency. So I think it's important to look back and see where do we stand, what research do we have, and what can we glean from all this as evidence-based practitioners, if you're a personal trainer or a coach or you want to become that, or just as an athlete, if you're a competitor or want to become one, or even just if you just want to follow a diet, get a little leaner, or try to make better gains, with a Z of course. Is there something we can learn from this research that can apply to ourselves or our clients to make better outcomes occur? Alright, so first let's talk about a great piece of information that came out recently called a meta-analysis. Meta-analyses are when you take a whole lot of studies that are done on the same topic, collate their data together to get more statistical power, and you make a conclusion on what you found. And there was a great meta-analysis done by Schoenfeld, Aragon, and Krieger recently, where they took a look at the effect of meal frequency on weight loss and body composition change. So they had a total of 15 studies, and they looked at the effect in each study. They combined it, so basically they looked at all the subjects and all the studies combined and tried to find out if there was an effect on either higher or lower meal frequencies on body composition or weight loss. And overall, what they found when they tried to equalize for all studies and taking any outlier studies and removing their data set to see if it was just that one study causing the effect, was that there didn't seem to be an effect ranging all the way from 1 to more than 5 meals a day on body composition change, fat-free mass retention, body fat loss, or even weight loss in general. And they stated that a huge limitation of this research was that they didn't look at appetite control. So while we know that meal frequencies between 1 to 6 don't seem to have an impact on changing body composition, there may be a role on dietary adherence, which truly is the most important piece of any diet strategy. If you can't follow it long term, you're probably not going to get long-term results. And most people in our society who struggle with weight loss or trying to get lean, they end up losing the same weight over and over and over again. So it might help you in the off season with not overeating and gaining weight too quickly and not having a bulking experience, and it might help you just stick to a diet longer if that's your goal, having better appetite control. So even though there's not like a physiological benefit straight up for body composition, maybe there might be an appetite benefit one way or the other. So we have a fair amount of research in this area. Starting back in 1999, there was a study on lean males where they found greater appetite control with grazing before lunch. So basically taking either a large breakfast in one group or 5 small meals all before lunch, split up into this kind of grazing pattern, and then having lunch afterwards and assessing satiety. Huge limitation of this study was there's just only one day and not a complete day, and they actually found greater appetite control with grazing. And this might be somewhere along the line where people started to think, hey, it's better to have more frequent meals because it makes you less full. However, it's only a half a day's study. Then in 2007, Stote did a study on healthy normal weight adults over 8 weeks. So this is a much more robust study to take information from, and found higher hunger levels eating 1 versus 3 meals a day. So this, instead of exploring high meal frequency, it explored your low meal frequency. Most of the time, because our society in general promotes eating 3 meals per day, that's just kind of the societal norm, that typically is the normal that we compare either high or low meal frequencies to. So in Stoat, they found greater hunger eating 1 versus 3 meals a day. There was a study the next year by Smeets, again, only a day and a half long. However, they found higher levels of satiety with 3 meals versus 2. So once again, showing that really low meal frequencies may increase hunger levels. But again, in just a day and a half, it's really hard to say whether that would have lasted or changed. And then there was a review in 2011 that found that, going over 3 meals per day doesn't seem to increase satiety or decrease hunger. However, going under 3 meals a day seems to make people hungrier. And then in 2012, there was a study of healthy males, only 36 hours again, and they found that appetite control increased with 3 meals per day compared to 14 meals per day. So that's eating almost every hour you're awake. Seems to be a downside for satiety. It makes you hungrier. And then most recently, there was a study in 2016, so just this year, and this was another one that was relatively long. It was 3 weeks, and they found that 8 meals per day left participants hungrier than 3 meals per day. So what you might have noticed from this collection of studies that I just briefly summarized is that there's a mixture of results. There's a mixture of lengths. Some are on women, some are on men, some are on both. And more or less, we kind of seem that there's a wash. Sometimes higher meal frequencies are associated with greater satiety. Sometimes the exact opposite is found. And I would say that my interpretation from the research broadly is that, one, we have to look at long-term studies, because we also have research showing that irregular meal patterns typically increase hunger and do wacky things metabolically, not to a huge extent, but just for a while. So regardless of what meal frequency you find works best for you, it probably makes sense to be relatively consistent and try to eat at regular times. It does seem to be that there's some type of adaptation in the body where it gets used to that and gets more efficient with a stable eating pattern. So whether you decide to eat 4 meals a day or 3 or 5, in that range, it's probably not going to make much of a difference, but changing it all the time probably would be a detrimental thing. And that's what a lot of these studies are doing. A 36-hour study means that you just briefly changed it, didn't have a chance to adapt, and then went back to normal. So it's kind of capturing that adaptation period. The longer studies seem to show, I would say, more valid results, and that's what we should really be paying attention to. And in my opinion, it seems that staying in the range of roughly 3 to 6 meals per day seems to be where hunger is more or less the same, probably once you've adapted to it. I don't think there's an advantage to going below 3 meals a day, and there's probably not an advantage to going above 6 in general. Individuals may find that they are an exception to the rule or exception to the average, and that's really what's important. Research does just tell us the average, and you may be someone who's a bit of an outlier. That's still totally normal, it's totally fine. So if you personally find better hunger control with 6 meals a day or 2 meals a day, go with it. As a final note, while we don't have hard data to really back this up, we do have theoretical evidence to show that spreading out your protein intake over at least 3, probably more than 3 meals a day, somewhere around 3 to 6, again, equally having protein boluses at those points may be better for making the muscle gain process more efficient. That said, a lot of these studies are done taking only protein in. Don't look at long-term muscle mass changes, but just look at muscle protein synthesis in acute periods. So it's a bit of a stretch to say we can say that definitively. However, we at least have a theoretical model that would suggest that having multiple feedings of roughly equated protein throughout the day and reaching a certain threshold of protein, I would say at least 30 grams of high-quality protein per meal, would be a better eating pattern for muscle gain or muscle retention compared to a very high frequency or a very low frequency with high or low respective protein intakes, like eating 8 meals a day with only 15 grams of protein or 20 grams of protein, or eating only 1 meal a day with 120 grams of protein probably would not be as good as something in between those two. Now, that said, hopefully some studies will be done on this in the future, and we can be more definitive on that in people doing resistance training for a long period and actually looking at muscle mass changes. But for now, that's what we've got to go on. So here's my final recommendation. For most people, try to find some meal pattern between 3 to 6 per day. Roughly spread your protein out between them. Try to have a serving of protein post-workout if you can, and maybe a meal 1 to 2 hours prior that's not too big, also with protein, pre-workout. And then go with personal preference from there, because that's going to help you with adherence. And it's that simple. All right, folks. I look forward to talking to you next time. Eric Helms, signing out.
Well guys, that is the video. Thank you so much to Eric for once again laying down that knowledge. You can follow him. His social media links will be down below. And again, comment below what you want to see next. We're creating a stack, let's say videos featuring Eric, just going over some of the big fundamental pieces of literature, nutrition, lifting, information that is necessary to kind of be a complete lifter. So we want to hear from you guys. And that's all the time we have. Like the damn video. You made it to the end of the video. That's 10 whole minutes. Either you took a really long shit, super bored, or super informed, perhaps a combination of both. And I'll be seeing all you guys, my rascals, in that next video. Peace!